on that approach, right? So communication, it is very, very important. So Gabby, you are in class one day and John Brown get up and John Brown decides say yo we go beat you up and take away your chair. Who would you tell? Your parents or your friends? How do you go about doing that?
Okay, so personally, I tell my friend.
Me too.
And that's just how I would do it. Because I need somebody who can help me fight back.
Yes.
My parents would just be like, you know, Gabby, you need to make peace. You need to calm down. And is that what you want to hear? Really?
No.
Is it what you want to
At the
hear?
moment.
And I'm glad Gabby spoke about that, right? We need to understand that. So many times, when it comes, it is so much harder for us to speak to our parents about certain matters than it is for us to go to our friends. So Dean would have said it's easier for us to talk to our parents or our friends about relationships. It's easier for us to talk to our parents about things like how you feel, etc. But when it comes down to things like sex and sexual activity and sexual related material, it's easier for us to relate to our friends about that, right? Because I mean, the parents might say to you, "Little boy, move from your and go. What you know about sex?" And I mean, I love to relate to persons who are older than I am, and when they tell me that back in the days, parents used to tell their children that when they ask them, "Mommy, Daddy, where is it that I came from?" The parents would tell them, say, "Oh, a plane come and drop you off, or Santa Claus carry come lift you, or something of the sort," right? And we need to understand that yes, they're children, and yes, we're not in a position to know everything, but it does more good than harm when parents sit down and they speak to us about certain things and they are real with us on certain matters, right? So about the improving of communication, we have heard in the discussion that some of the things that we need to do, we need to listen and not just hear things, right? And this goes both ways, both parents and children. We need to understand that it is better for us to listen than just to allow it to pass through one ears and come through the other. We need to also understand feelings. That is very, very important on both sides. I know some of the times as children we feel as though we're not being heard because that's the society that we're in. Children should be seen and not heard, right? But I know from personal experience that it's better when persons listen to you, right? I'm sure our audience is probably agreeing with us right now. In addition to that, we need to be very mindful of, especially parents, we need to be very, very mindful, and children alike, that there is the 17-year-old of the day now is not the same. The 17-year-old now didn't have the same challenges that a 17-year-old had in the early 2000s, right? Things change and we're in the social media age now, right? So parents, a tip, you need to understand that look, things aren't the same as they are now, and we have to listen more to our students or our children. Children, you need to understand that look, you need to be more understanding. You need to be more patient with your parents. You need to like Toby said, friend them up, right? Cause I mean, they said the money I come from. We need the money, right? So we need to that is how we go about it. And I mean the good thing about this is we don't have anything to lose, but we have everything to gain from good communication.
So,
nothing to lose.
What would you say are some barriers in communication?
So for me, barriers in communication, shouting, right? I mean, you don't need to shout for the person to listen to you. So many times, just change the scenery because the environment can be a barrier. If it go somewhere that is more comfortable, somewhere that's more cozy, where it's easier for you to relate. Also, stress, that can be a barrier to communication, because stress can lead to both child and parent being easily aggravated, right? So stress, that is something that we need to that can be a barrier to communication. um well, yeah, that's it for barriers.
Well, I just wanted to add to that. Um, Parents failing to discuss things with their children, they leave their children curious. And so their children tend to go out into the world and they explore and they do all sorts of things. Most of us here, we are matriculating from lower six to upper six, if not all. And the one thing we learned when we were doing communication studies is about the communication process.
Yes.
Now, if my mother come to me, my mother normally come to me, and if she's gonna ask me a question, she's gonna say, Dane, did you do this? She says, Dane, you eat the dumpling out of the plate. The manner in which he says it now, it sounds like a statement. So first of all, it sounds like one accusation. So me now get defensive.
Yes.
And so that is a barrier too.
Yes.
Because noise can be a barrier in the communication process. A lack of good decoding of the message can also be a barrier. And I think a lot of times we as youths, we try to say some things, but we parents say we look like a big woman and we look like a big man and we're disrespectful and with this. When if only the parents just look on the other side of the picture, or the bigger picture, to understand the whole concept of what you're trying to say. I think that is also very important to bear in mind.
Yeah, and
Yes.
another barrier
Yes.
before you move on would be biases. So parents sometimes they have biases towards their traditional methods of doing things. We, the younger generation, may want to do things a much different way, a way that we think is effective and more differently than our parents. And our parents, even our grandparents, are influencing our parents, and in return, they're influencing us. So I think a way that we can break through that is to be more open-minded on both sides, our parents and us as well, when it comes to communicating with our parents.
And another very important thing, and this comes off some of the time as being negative, and that is the tone of the voice that is being used. David has spoken to the question not being so much of a question, but an accusation, and that forces people to get defensive. But the very tone, because some of the times that is it, that the way in which the parent says the thing, or the way in which the child answers.
Yeah, it's not what you say, it's
how you say it. And that is very, very dangerous. So youth or audience, or hope that you guys are paying close attention to that, the tone of the voice being used. Parents don't like when they say it sounds as if we are being and sometimes not just the tone of the voice, but our reaction, sometimes our body language.
Yes, true.
Yeah, I mean that is something that set off World War III in the household.
Actions can speak louder
than words,
so,
right? So keep that in mind. Those are also barriers, and those things might come off as being negative when you really have good intentions, right?
So one last barrier I thought about was feedback, especially from parents. Now, say you go to that parent, peaceful, calm, ready to talk about the situation, and you say, and the first thing they'll do is, "What? I can't. You really did that?" You get me? So like, because of that reaction, because of that feedback, you don't feel like you must continue. You don't feel like you must go back and say anything related to that topic again, or anything,
Yeah.
So feedback is very important. So any parent watching this, be careful how you react or how you respond to what your child's saying. Try to be calm, try to understand, try to listen. So yes, feedback is very
And
important.
as adding to what Gabby would have said, sometimes limiting the questions, that is something that would be good. I mean, questions sometimes the way in which they ask, they sound judgmental and they sound accusatory. So some of the times it's better not to ask a lot of questions. Just listen to what is being said, and allow them to say all that they want to say, right? And leave it there.
Right.
Alright, so thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for being attentive. So just recapping, barriers to communication. We have spoken about the tone of voice, the attitude, the gestures that are used,
Yeah.
not listening, right? The environment, all of those things. Those are some barriers to communication that if you want a communication process, especially in the household where your parents who control the money are residing in, it would be very important for you to try to overcome those barriers, right? We also spoke about the fact that communication it's not a one-way process. It goes both ways, and you have to, parents, please keep in mind that don't be judgmental. Yes, we are children. Yes, we make a lot of mistakes. I make a lot of mistakes, and we need to we try. Some of the times, even in trying to fix the mistakes, we make more mistakes. So just be patient with us. In addition to that, we understand that you as parents you have a lot doing and you have very hectic schedules. But if you're not in a position to sit down and talk to us, get somebody who you know is comfortable with us rather, and somebody you know we are comfortable with that we can sit down and talk to. Be mindful that there is and there will always be a generation gap, right? And therefore, to overcome the generation gap, parents, it's good to understand some of the things that try to understand some of the things that we're going through, and youth, children, try to understand what your parents are going through, right? And also, parents try to be more approachable. When we are trying to sweet you up, allow to sweet you up. So that, it is good, and we can sit down, we can talk, and things flow. Anything else?
All right. I think we have said most of the things, right?
Yes, so basically sum up everything, build a better relationship. Both parent and child and parent.
And how can you build a better relationship? Through effective communication.
Absolutely.
And just want to close with a quote from John Powell, and it states, "Communication works for those who work at it." Parents, children, work at the communication. Trust me, you get the money to go to the movies.
That's